For all the heavyweights online who think King Kong is retired, want a name? You have to come get it. You have to come get your name. I am ready to fight anyone. All of you champions on the roster, why don't you call King Kong? If that's the best name for you, that's the best name for you who think you're going to pick easy fruit. For Tokyo, for Dubai, for Joshua, for Usyk, for Fury, who is in a cave. For everyone, for everybody. Para todos los heavyweights que están en línea, que creen que King Kong está retirado. ¿Quieres nombre? Tienes que venir a buscártelo. Tienes que venir a buscarte el nombre. Yo estoy listo para pelear con cualquiera. Todos ustedes que son los campeones, que están ahí listados, ¿por qué no llaman a King Kong? Si ese es el mejor nombre para ustedes. Ese es el mejor nombre para ustedes que creen que van a venir a coger mango fácil. Fuck you. Para Dubois, para Joshua, para Usyk, para Fury que está metido en una cueva. Para todo el mundo, para everybody. For all the heavyweights online.
And that there is a strong message from King Kong, Luis Ortiz. And let me counterpunch. I think Luis Ortiz, actually, he's looking good. He's looking cut up, you know what I mean? And you could tell by the way he's, perspiring. He's been training hard, and I have to remind people that Luis Ortiz, regardless of his age, he's he's still dangerous. And the problem with Luis Ortiz is the same problem a lot of fighters have, like Michael Hunter and even Luis Ortiz. They're pretty much in the same circle as far as risk, because even though Ortiz is a lot older than Michael Hunter, they're too good for their own good, meaning they're too risky to just pick a fight. We got a fighter where, a lot of these fighters, they're taking these easy fights of people that are damaged, no good, inactive, those type of things, versus a guy like Luis Ortiz. You can tell he's all cut up. He's looking good. You can tell he's been training. And I think that message is just, a sign or a message from urgency to get a fight. Nobody wants to fight Luis Ortiz. So he's caught in a situation where, it's like fighting an old man that can fight. It benefits nothing. Who would benefit anything fighting Luis Ortiz? He's been beaten 3 times, twice by Wilder, once by Ruiz, Andy. And I think after that, and then the scare he had with I Walk This Earth Like a God, Charles Martin, at the beginning of 2022. And when he went down from a jab, we pretty much sensed, his punch resistance is not really there. The 3 knockdowns he took from Andy Ruiz, that could have been, minus the knockdowns, if that didn't happen, Luis Ortiz would have easily outboxed Andy Ruiz. You can tell he's a busy fighter and he's a dangerous one. In fact, he hurt Andy in the last round in that fight. So people fighting Luis Ortiz it's risky. It's dangerous. You want to take on the King Kong. Sure, you might knock him out, but then you could end up like a walking, standing zombie like Charles Martin was. And Charles Martin didn't know what hit him. And everyone knows this about fighting. Any fighter that's aging or past their prime or way past their prime, the power is the last to go. Okay? The power. So yeah, you might knock Luis Ortiz out, him being older and all this, but then if he hits you, then that really wrecks your credibility. It's hard for you to come back from that, being beat by Luis Ortiz. And everyone and their mom and dad and uncle and cousin will tell you, I told you so. Do not fight Luis Ortiz. And so him lashing out at Usyk, Fury, Joshua, Dubois, and telling them all to, that's just a sign of frustration that nobody wants to fight someone that old, because even if you fight him and you beat him, it's like that's what you're supposed to do. But if he beats you, it's going to look bad on your end, because the jokes never stop. Sparred with Lennox Lewis, sparred with Jack Johnson, 50 or 60 years old. Those type of things will never stop. It's actually urban legend, really, to be fair. but he is older than he says he is. A lot of people have testified to that, no cap. I just know he's dangerous. I wish him well. I hope he can get a fight, but it's risky seeing someone like that in that type of shape. And he's a dangerous counterpuncher. He's not the typical Cuban fighter, and if he could get a fight with someone like Dillian White or Derek Chisora, and even those guys, especially Derek. Derek's in a position to fight for the heavyweight title, so that doesn't really seem likely. And plus, he was on that Al Heyman boat, and that Al Heyman boat has kind of sailed and went out to sea, and it has some holes in the floor. So it's getting close to sinking, and it just shows you that that advisor is not helping him get fights either. So that's another thing you have to question. Like, okay, well, Jim Jimenez and, I think it's Oscar Henao. No, not Oscar Henao. That's one of my guys in the trenches. Shout out to Oscar Henao. But no, is it Herman Calcedo, right? Herman Calcedo. He's the trainer or whatever. But, he's supposed to help, Luis Ortiz as much as he can, because of the language barrier. And wrapping up the video, why did the wording not match his lips? I want to fight you anytime. Okay? But in Espanol, the lips matched. So I was like, okay, what's up with the voiceover shit, And I guess he needed, to let people know what the hell he was saying because, in Espanol, not everyone speaks Spanish. So, so they don't know, like, okay, you might see Joshua Furioni, but nothing really matters if you don't understand. So I understand it, but it was kind of humorous. It reminded me of old Bruce Lee or Kung Fu movies back in the day when the word didn't match. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Luis Ortiz. Call out. He calls out everyone. He tells everyone where they can go because they're scared. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.